I feel like I've always meant to come to this place. It's so random, I just don't know why, but it just feels like it was meant to happen. I don't want to sound weird, but this just feels like it's the exact moment I've always meant to be in. The decision to leave Australia has been one of the most confronting yet exhilarating decisions I've ever made.
Here we are drinking Fiji water in Fiji.
Leaving behind the familiar warmth of home for the cold, unknown embrace of Finland, a country I'd never been to or even heard a little about. When I set my goal of moving to Finland, I didn't fully understand what I was signing up for. The challenge of moving to another continent, to a country where I didn't even speak the same language, was clearly going to be more difficult than I first suspected. Although, I hadn't yet realized the problems I'd face, as I was blinded by the sheer beauty of this magnificent country from the beginning. I just moved to Jyväskylä from Helsinki. In Helsinki, I felt like I was still connected to the outside world. But in Jyväskylä, I feel like I'm trapped in the sea of pine trees. I don't think this is the city's fault, more than I'm having a difficult time adjusting to the intense change of this move. I feel so worried about my financial situation. I feel so isolated from my friends and family. Honestly, I've never felt so confused in my entire life. But let's bring it back to the start of this journey. After a journey across the planet, I finally arrived in Helsinki. I was spending 6 weeks in this beautiful place called Kallionokka as my introduction to Finland. Kallionokka captured my heart immediately. I remember sitting on this hill overlooking the rest of Helsinki with tears falling from my eyes as I realized I'd finally made my dream of moving countries become reality. Something I dreamt of for over a year was finally not just a dream anymore. My favorite part of Kallionokka was the streets lined with beautiful buildings that colored this peaceful neighborhood that I walked on every day. While living in Helsinki, another place I loved visiting was Hartoniemi. This city suburb was located right next to a beautiful forest filled with colorful houses. It was amazing to find such a small feeling place surrounded by nature, only a short train ride away from the center of the capital city. This gave me a much needed escape from the city life. I have now been in Finland for about 2 weeks, and honestly I think at this point I can say I love this country. The other day I tried sauna for the first time and it was actually mind-blowing. Honestly, I can't even imagine my life without it at this point. It was like an out-of-body experience. It felt like all of these things I'd been carrying for so long just got melted away. There's one thing though that sauna can't fix, and it's the amount of mosquitoes here, so I'm gonna move right now. Okay, so let's talk about salmiakki. When I first came to Finland, people were saying that foreigners don't usually like salmiakki. And honestly, coming into it, I was a little bit skeptical of it, considering I don't even like licorice normally, well, at least I hadn't tried in a while, and it's salty licorice. And apparently it can be really strong. But I tried it, and I really loved it. I kind of worked my way up, starting with, some lower tier salmiakki until I finally moved up to the top tier, the big boys. I actually don't really know the names of the ones I tried, but I'm gonna pop them up on the screen all around me right now. All the salmiakki I've tried. But now I eat it almost every day. I mean, it's probably not healthy, but ever since I've tried it, I just can't stop eating it, genuinely. So, salmiakki, I give you a pass. Okay, so something I'm also obsessed with at the moment is the wild berries. All of the blueberries, the raspberries, the lingonberries, the mushrooms you find in the forest. I mean, I can just go for a hike, like right now. I'm just going for a little walk, and if I'm feeling like a snack, I can kind of just go down to the ground like this. And bang, there's berries. I think during the first few weeks of living in Finland, I kind of struggled a lot with being so far away from my home, especially a lot of the cultural differences. Probably just the fact that I was so far away from my friends and family back in Australia. That was probably the hardest part, and it took a while to kind of settle in. Like whenever I went on Google Maps and I looked at my location, I was just shocked. I was like, I'm really in Finland right now. I'm not in Australia. And I live here. I'm not just traveling here. I'm not just here for a few weeks. Like I am here for the long run. During this time, I definitely had like a lot of anxiety. I was struggling a lot, but at the same time, I was so excited. I was filled with energy every day because I wanted to explore this beautiful place. And honestly, I loved Helsinki so much and Katjanokka. I absolutely loved these places. They're some of my favorite places in the entire world. And I had some of the best weeks of my life. Honestly, I feel like most immigrants can say when they move to a country that's so different from their own, they feel kind of alienated or lost or confused, or there's just like this sort of period when you first arrive in a new country and you really try and settle in, not just traveling there, but like actually settle into this place where you definitely feel a little bit of struggle. But even though I felt that struggle, I felt that anxiety of moving to a new place, I knew that I made the right decision. Like walking outside every single day from my apartment into this beautiful city with this beautiful summer weather was just incredible. I found so many beautiful places around the city that I enjoyed. Also, during my stay in Helsinki, I actually went on a little bit of a almost accidental trip through Europe interrailing. I first off started by taking the ferry across to Tallinn, Estonia, which I've wanted to do for so long. It is such a beautiful city. Then I took a flight to Italy and ended up traveling through Italy, France, and Spain with my girlfriend, which was absolutely amazing. It was my first time like buying an Interrail pass and actually just going and just taking any train, just not really having a schedule. But anyways, I'm not gonna get ahead of myself. I came back to Helsinki and spent my last week before I moved to Jyväskylä. Well, this is Jyväskylä, the place I call my home in Finland, a place unlike any other in the world. Located in the heart of Finland's lakeland, this beautiful city is coloured by wooden houses around its modern city centre. Jyväskylä felt so different from Helsinki. What you're currently experiencing is something mesmerising in Finland. As you can see, the lake is duplicating the trees and the sky. If you throw a stick, it breaks the glitch of the lake. From my first day living here, I was in love with the pine tree covered mountains surrounding the endless lakes that made up this Nordic city. I was obsessed with the possibilities, from the fresh, chilling breeze that made each early morning crisp and the late night summer sun swims at midnight. So what do you think the best thing we ever did in Finland was together? Like, what is the best moment?
When we were on the beach. Normally I would never go to swim on like so rainy day, but we just went to swim and it was the most beautiful moment ever when we were just like running in the beach and dancing, and it was raining, there was like rainbow and then the sun. I've lived in Finland 19 years. There has never been a moment like that. You're in your own like hometown or home country. You feel like you can't just see it in the same way that people outside see it. But in that moment I felt like I saw it from the outside perspective. I saw the beauty.
Like, I remember when I was really sick in Jyväskylä for a week or two, I was struggling so much and I didn't have really any way to get help. I didn't have a doctor. I don't know if I was going to get charged heaps of money at the hospital. And I was like so sick. I haven't been that sick in a very long time. And I was really struggling, but you were so helpful there. I felt like you were always there to help or get me something I needed or comfort me. Or I really mean that, and I feel like I can't repay you for that.
You know, in that moment I was genuinely just thinking like, if I would be in like a foreign country alone and I would become sick, it would be terrifying. And I just, because I love you and care about you, it was obvious for me that I wanted to like help you.
One of the biggest highlights of moving to Finland is going to Lapland and going up north, especially to like Saari-Selkä. But I think it's such a special place. So I was walking down the side of the road after climbing this massive fell, and it was about 20 kilometers to walk home from where I was, back to Saari-Selkä. And basically, I decided, you know what, I'm gonna hitchhike. I'm gonna try hitchhiking because in New Zealand, I did it before with my friend. So, you know, how bad can it be? I'm in Lapland, it seems safe. Let's give it a go. So I put my thumb out on the side of the road, and there's this long stretch of road. And people deny me for a while, and then finally, on my last effort, my last try, a van stops for me. So, the van stops, and I see a mother and a daughter called Mia and Sinja. And they offer me a ride back to Saari-Selkä because they were staying there too. Not only did they do that though, they stopped the van, they gave me food, they fed me, and we had an amazing conversation. We learned about each other and what we each did. So we were driving back and we were almost at Saari-Selkä, and I asked them, what are you guys doing? What are you continuing to do for the rest of your trip up here? They were Finnish, by the way. And they were going on a little trip up to Norway. And I've been wanting to go up to the top of Norway for so long. This was kind of like the secret intention of coming on this Lapland trip. I wanted to try and figure out if there was any way to get as far north as possible. And then I said that to them. I was like, you know, I've been looking to try and get to Norway for ages. Then they offered to take me to Norway. To speed it up a little bit, to keep it kind of easy right here. The next day, they picked me up, they took me, they refused to let me pay for any of my stuff. They just took care of me. They paid for everything. They were some of the kindest, most selfless people I've met. They just took care of me, they took me, and they made me feel like family. And it was something so special. But we got to the top of Norway, and it was absolutely incredible. Lapland is one of the most incredible places I've been in my entire life. I fell in love with the vast, remote landscapes, and in a way, it kind of reminded me of Australia. The amount of space and variety, the peace you can find, and the friendly people. I felt like this was my favorite part of Finland. As I continued driving up the country from Jyväskylä to Oulu to Rovaniemi to Saariselkä, the landscapes continued changing until finally we crossed the Norwegian border. And we finally reached what felt like was the end of the world. It feels like I was always meant to end up in this place. It feels like this was inevitable. I'm exactly in the moment I'm supposed to be right now.